This past weekend was the Qingming Festival in China, also known as the Tomb Sweeping Festival. Qingming actually doesn't mean tomb sweeping. Uh, it's just one of the themes of the holiday, which is a common thread among Chinese traditional holidays. Like the Duanwu Festival, they translate as the Dragon Boat Festival. Dragon boat racing is one of the many things that people do on the Duanwu Festival, but the name isn't really translatable, so they just pick something that's easy to associate. Anyway, fun cultural tidbit there. We get a holiday in China, so it was a 3-day weekend, and I spent the holiday by doing a themed route hike. So that group that I do the themed routes with, we did the 2025, we did the Year of the Snake, and we did a big heart. What else have we done? They have all kinds of crazy stuff. Each zodiac year, there's a new one. This time we did a maple leaf, oddly enough. It had nothing to do with the holiday, but everything to do with the location where the hike was. It's at a mountain called Xiangshan in the northwest corner of Beijing. Xiangshan, which is mistranslated as fragrant hill. So you could call it a hill. It's not super high, but the fragrant is the mistranslation. It should be incense mountain or hill or whatever. Yeah, you can call it a mountain. Anyway, even a lot of Chinese people will misunderstand it as meaning fragrant instead of incense, but it has a temple on it. That's why it's incense. Yeah, so that's where we did it. And the reason why it has to do with maple leaves is that in the fall, that's like the place to be in Beijing, where all the maple leaves change color. I don't think I've been there in the fall, but I'm pretty sure we'd be a little bit disappointed. But it's a great place to hike, and we had a pretty big group this time of over 30 people. Yeah, so how these themed routes work is they have one leader who spends probably a lot of time planning these routes. And the route was 22 kilometers, including getting from the base of the mountain up to where the route starts. The route itself was maybe 19, or maybe even less than that. But it came to exactly 22 kilometers total. And we kind of had two subgroups. So one that was kind of like maybe not up to hiking that much. So the kind of like the more easygoing group, where there were more breaks for them. And then the other group who could kind of keep walking for 22 kilometers. The overall elevation was 1,000 meters. The way they do it in China, at least, is they do elevation gain. So it's like a cumulative elevation. So 1,000 meters was over like 3 or 4 climbs, and then maybe a bit of downhill, then back up again. Whereas hiking in Canada, as far as I know, we usually just do the elevation difference. So if you say 1,200 meters, it means from where you start to the highest peak. It doesn't include going down. It's like the net elevation gain. It does make quite a bit of difference. The 1,200 meter climb net would be like snow in the summer kind of climb. And this was 6 hours of pretty casual walking. But it was a lot of fun and met lots of new people, which is kind of the point. So that was the Qingming Festival maple leaf themed hike.
Wow. Okay. And first question is,
Mm-hmm.
how hard is it to draw a maple leaf on trails on a mountain? Like I can imagine in a
Yeah.
city it's hard, but on a mountain that sounds very hard.
Yeah, I gotta hand it to these guys. I think it's just the one of them. They have a team, right? It's maybe 4 or 5 people, and I'm pretty sure it's the one guy who does all the routes. And I gotta hand it to him. Like some of these are pretty hard to do, and they look surprisingly like what they're supposed to look like.
Oh.
So it does. It's kind of a misshapen maple leaf, but with a little bit of imagination, if you squint a little bit, it's like, wow, yeah, that definitely looks like a maple leaf. We would have to like go out and do the tip of one of the corners and then come back and then do that like another 6 times. So he knew what he was doing, and, and yeah, it actually it was hard to design the route, I'm sure, but with him leading, it was quite easy.
Oh, that's very impressive. And so if you do that, do you all have to run together all the time, or do you have like a GPS built in your app you can just follow?
Mm, it was optional. Like some of the people with kids, if their kids couldn't keep up, or if they wanted to just go for a few kilometers and then do sightseeing on their own, then they would officially leave the group. And then for the people who could keep up with the pace, we were kind of expected to keep up the whole way.
Okay. Oh,
There was a bit of
sounds
running, yeah.
interesting.
It was mostly, yeah, it was definitely a hike, some pretty brisk paced walking, and then coming back, especially coming down just to save time. We did a bit of running. And also we did some running just for fun. When we split up to go to a viewpoint, it was optional to do to begin with. Um, but a few of us decided to just run there and run back because you can't just do all hiking with no running, right? What's the fun in that?
Yeah. And you don't want to run up a mountain. Well, maybe some people do, but I mean, a high percentage of the population does not want to just run up a mountain.
Yeah, not us. We're weirdos.
Yeah. Oh, and was there a lot of elevation gain or technical trails or ropes to slide down?
It definitely wasn't very technical. There was a lot of like shortcuts through the forests and stuff like that. There was one point where we had to like there was a barrier, right, that was blocking our path, so we had to like go up and around. I'm pretty sure was trespassing. It definitely wasn't a path that was meant for people to just take on their own. So we had to improvise a bit.
Oh, makes sense. So you've got to do what it takes to draw the maple leaf.
Gotta make the maple lace.
Yes.
It's very important. Yeah, so that's what I did last weekend. And you are in Vietnam still.
Yes.
So what
Yeah.
crazy thing did you do this
I
weekend?
Yeah, so I had my last race of this trip. So three races in 3 weekends. I was in another city in central Vietnam called Hue. Um,
Mhm.
a long time ago, it used to be very popular as a capital of the country, but from that time, nobody is still alive, so many people don't know that. But there are lots of castles. We get to start right by this really cool castle and imperial city of Hue, they call it, and that's nice. But the whole trip overall, it was a good experience, but not perfect. Um, the first problem is that it was very hard to book a room because I booked late. So I got a hotel for Thursday and Friday night, but the race was Sunday morning at 3 a.m. So the owners of the hotel let me store my main bags there, and I just went to a cafe to stay until 10 p.m. And I'm like, okay, I got 5 hours to kill, and I checked out at 12 noon, so I slept as much as I could before 11:30 a.m. Quickly packed and left. I said, I'm just going to pull an all-nighter in a cafe. I thought I would try and sleep a bit in the cafe. Didn't work. 10 p.m. And then it was raining at 10 p.m. when I left. So I got rained on as okay, I got to walk for 4 hours. It's raining. There's mosquitoes by this river in the middle of the city. I can't just go to the start line and sleep because there's so many mosquitoes. So as I was walking, I found this really bizarre, but I love it. It's called Mr. Good Tea. It was like a clay cafe thing, and you could, I guess there was lots of young people. I said like university age young people, and they were just like playing cards and like having fun. And you could be there till 3 a.m., which is when the race started. That was perfect. So I went there and I had they had some Korean food. They had some japaghetti, which if you know Korean food, it's very nice, kind of like ramen. It's another snack like that. But they had green tea matcha flavored tteokbokki, and if anyone who knows Korean food would call this sacrilege. I uploaded a picture on my Instagram, and all my Korean friends said, "What is this matcha flavored tteokbokki?" And it's originally like spicy rice cakes, like spicy red sauce, but matcha flavored. And I didn't try that one. I regret it. Anyways, but I was really interested in that. That has nothing to do with the marathon. I'll get back on topic. But I was there until just before the race, and about 1:30, finally walked to the start line, and the rain had stopped and things were going well. I signed up for this race for two reasons mainly. One is because last October, someone I know in Korea, he said he was getting a Korean team. They're going to make shirts, custom shirts for this race and sign up together. So he said, you have to sign up and go with us. So I did. And I know another runner from Vietnam who's going, and she said, "Oh, she'll be there for sure." In the end, none of them came, and I was kind of disappointed. But I did actually meet a Korean runner I know by coincidence. So he was there at the start line. I was very happy to see him. So that was nice. So that was positive. But overall, it was a fun run. As I mentioned, we start by this castle, Imperial City. Beautiful view, but it's 3 a.m., so we're a bit tired, especially me because I didn't sleep. And it's hard to take great pictures at night, but there were still some nice pictures. And unfortunately, for maybe the last half, we're just on one long road. So all the good, beautiful running at the beginning, and then by the time the sun comes up,
Hmm.
the weather was fine. Like it wasn't hot, but just a long road, like out and back and out and back and out and back, the same road for like 15 kilometers. And that was kind of, I guess, boring. There wasn't much to see. It wasn't like nice scenery. So if anyone's doing this race, I think the 5K, 10K, or the half would be best for pictures and scenery and just enjoying it. If you're crazy about running, you just want to get lots of marathons done, great, do the full course. There were some rolling hills near the end. And, the finish line was also different. So we finished in a different place from the starting line, which had nothing there special to take pictures. I really wished we could have finished at the Imperial City because our bid could get us in for free. But I didn't know we'd be far away from there, so we had to go back later. And I already booked my train ticket, so I couldn't enjoy that. That was a bit disappointing. There was one other kind of big downer on this whole experience, and while I was running, I had a bit of an altercation with a person cheering. And of course, I was in my daughter's costume playing the flute, having a good time. I stopped, take pictures, take videos. I'm not trying to win this race, but she really wanted to take a picture with me, but she didn't want to tell me that. So she was like, "Hey, oh, come here," and she had her thing to high five. So I high fived her, and in line, there's four of her friends. So as I'm running, we high five and we keep running. That's normal. But once I high fived her, she decided she was going to get a picture. So she turned and she grabbed my belt and just yanked on it and pulled so I couldn't go anywhere. And that's also how you tighten it. So, but it hurt and very dangerous. I could have fallen. I could have fallen to her friends. Not good. I was kind of very upset about that. And I quickly said, like, no, 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 it's not okay. Please don't do that. I know you're just here to cheer. Thank you, but that's that's not going to make me want to take a picture with you. And after that, the next 2 kilometers, I was kind of in a bad mood. So they were the fastest kilometers of the race. I just was running really fast, and I realized, oh,
Hmm.
I'm getting kind of tired. Still have 15 kilometers to go. Anyways, that was the only main downfall. But yeah, overall, good time. I would recommend the half, the 10, or the 5 for anyone who wants to do this race personally. But the full marathon is still an enjoyable experience. You still get some nice pictures and get to see some nice scenery and enjoy running in the city of Wayne.
First of all, sorry to hear about your altercation with this young lady. How old was she?
Maybe she was about 40,
Oh,
I'd
okay.
say.
It's not how I envisioned it. Yeah, you think she'd know better by then.
Yeah,
I thought it was like
I
a
know she's
kid.
definitely not a runner, but yeah, as a kid, I wouldn't, I don't think I would, I didn't like yell at her either. I didn't yell at anyone, but I could understand a bit more for a kid. But someone, it seems like she'd been cheering before she had the whole like sticks to cheer. So I was very shocked that happened. That's never ever happened to me in my life at that level. And she was like really yanking to stop me from running because she wanted this picture so badly. I'm like, you can say, just tell me, and I'll gladly stop and take a
Hmm.
picture. But you're risking a lot here.
Yeah, it's quite dangerous for your back and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're moving forward and then someone pulls you backward at your midsection. Yeah,
Yes.
not good for anybody. And so it seems like the route was kind of poorly planned. Hue is a beautiful city. I've never been there, but I've wanted to go there for a while. And it seems like a really good place to have a marathon, but maybe they kind of just ran out of city. So they just had this big out and back, which is really the worst kind of route, right? Where you just go straight out on It's usually a highway that they close off or something, and then come back basically just to fill 15K. So do you think that they
Yeah,
could
I think
plan the
that's
route better to improve it, or if they're kind of just stuck with a small city like this?
yeah, I think yeah, honestly, I think if it was reversed, it would have been better because the 5K, 10K, and half they all started later. Especially 5 and 10K, their pictures were the morning sunlight was out. Okay, it was kind of
Mm,
cloudy, so it wasn't no sunlight, but bright enough to take pictures. It looks like a big festival, lots of people dressed in costumes and beautiful pictures with the Imperial City in the background. But we started at 3 a.m. and there's people who live in that area. So, but when we were on the highway, nobody lives there. So when we were running, like I was playing my flute, but oh, like people are living here, I shouldn't play now. Okay, I'll wait. And it was
yeah.
just really hard. Like we can't cheer much or do much. But if it was reversed, if we started the finish and went to the start line, I personally think that would have been much better to finish in the Imperial City. I know traffic and things like that can be an issue,
Mm,
but as a runner, that would have been so much better in the morning. Everyone's there to see us, and actually, like just passersby,
passersby.
getting the syntax another time, passersby, and we'd be happy to see us, and that would be very enjoyable. So I would recommend if I was on a planning committee, just run it in reverse, or just do more laps of the Imperial City. I think it's nice to just run over and
Mm,
over again. There's some nice bridges as well, so taking advantage of those would have been a little bit more enjoyable in my
okay. And what would you change next time if you were going to try to get a hotel?
Aha. Well, I would say for anyone who is in the MBTI who might be a P, there's something wrong with you. I'm myself in this, meaning if you book at the last minute, like on the train to the city, it's probably too late for a marathon like this. In some big cities, like when I came to Da Nang or Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, there's lots of rooms. But once you're going to the countrysides, you definitely got to book in advance. Like when you sign up for the race, you book at least the one night, and many of them are refundable. So I would have lost nothing if I did that. So that's definitely what I would change: is book early
Mm,
and find a place to stay. But it is good training, I guess. It's not good for your health. I mean, I'm like training mentally.
mm,
Like if I do like an ultra marathon or have to stay up all night, I know I
mm.
am capable. But I'm not saying it's good physical strength training. You should all get enough sleep. Sleep is really
Yeah,
important for your health, recovery, and everything.
that night didn't sound like it was very fun. When you told the story, it sounded like it was fun, but thinking about it, mm, I wouldn't want to have to go through that. That's very little
Yes,
sleep for
thankfully
a
it was
race.
3 a.m. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good
So that
point too. You
was
start at
that
3
one.
a.m., so you don't really have time to
Yeah,
sleep much anyway.
and yeah, and that's when I booked a train back 12:30 because I could just finish the race, quickly go to the train, and sleep on the train. Unfortunately, I also had bad luck on the train. There was a family of like 7 or 8 people who wouldn't give me my seat because they wanted a couple of us together. So they gave me someone else's seat, but they had all their bags. They didn't even take their blanket and water bottles off the seat they gave me, and it was just really uncomfortable. So I couldn't sleep the whole time. So that was also kind of frustrating. I prefer traveling by train in Vietnam, but this was unfortunately the only time this has ever happened to me. So that was a
Mm-mm.
very tiring train ride.
Mm. Wow, sounds like a very tiring 24 hours.
Yes. But I survived. I finished.
Hey, anything else you want to add about this race? Any other first time
Um,
experiences?
I guess another thing in general for anyone who's considering racing in Vietnam, an interesting thing is almost all races you get a t-shirt or a single you choose, but you also get another one when you finish. So be
Hmm.
prepared to get too many clothes. So I've been here for 3 weeks. I have 6 new shirts, and all the finisher ones. Sometimes they have a finisher jacket, but usually they're finisher t-shirts. So if you like a variety, when you sign up, you can choose, do I want a singlet or a t-shirt? I recommend a singlet because when you finish, you'll get a t-shirt anyways. So now for this one
Mm.
and 2 weeks ago in Da Nang, I got a singlet and a t-shirt, and that's also something I do recommend.
That's one of the many great things about running is you never have to buy shirts. You just have an endless
Yes,
supply of shirts that you can never wear all of.
I would like some shorts every now and then or something, but too many
No,
shirts.
no shorts. Only shirts.
I thought, can I turn my shirts into shorts?
No,
But that's another.
it's not visible enough.
That's true. I'll figure out a way. But yes, overall, good time.
Yeah, you can make your shirts into shorts.
There'll be some.
Just wear like
There's a way, I'm sure.
a whole outfit of recycled race shirts.
Even my socks are shirts.
Yeah, they use socks or singlets and hats.
Yeah.
Mm, I think we're
Oh
onto
yeah.
something.
I think that's a business right there. Maybe
Yeah.
not a successful business, but that's a business.
All right, that's all for this week. This episode was brought to you by matcha flavored tteokbokki.
As well as heaps and heaps and heaps of t-shirts with no affiliations.
A nest.
Mm,
Yeah, you don't need a
I'd
place
like
to
to see
sleep.
one.
You can just make a nest of your shirts.
Yeah,